Hey gang, East Coast Lumberjack, and we're in the shop in Keswick Ridge, and we're hitting for part two. So this is part two of a hang for Joe Glelly from my buddy from Florida. He sent up a nice True Temper Kelly pattern. Okay, and here it is. Now I see he's trying to keep it as original as he can. Okay, now in the street rod world, which my dad was a big part of for years and years and years, my dad built four different street rods over his lifetime. A 1940 Oldsmobile. We built a 54 Ford back when I was a young fella. He built, what was his first truck? His first truck was a Plymouth pickup truck, and now he has a Dodge Fargo, 38 Fargo pickup truck. Beautiful cars. So now I know from the street rod world there's rodders and there's teakers. Okay, there's two types. The antiquers like things original. Everything original. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of rust or whatever, they want it original. Okay, and it matters to them. And then of course there's the street rodders that take whatever and they make her beautiful and fast and whatever. They're not too worried about original. Now in the axe world, which is my world, I've realized over the last little bit that there are street rodders in the axe world and there are antiquers in the axe world. So a few weeks ago, I showed people how to put a good edge on an axe. Now, old axes are neat, okay, and I like them a lot, and I have one, and I'll show you one here. I have a neat one. Where is it? Okay, so if you like old axes, this is a cool one, okay? This here, it's only 3 inches back here. It is almost 7 inches out here at the bit, okay? This belonged to my great-grandfather, Herb Weatherby. And he worked in the woods way back when he was a young guy, and this was his chopping axe from the woods. It's got a lot of meat on the back. There's a lot of weight here. And I actually, so what I did, because it was his, it came right off of an axe handle that he had in his basement. I took wings out of it, right here, a little bit less drag. I did not do the face of it very well yet, but I'm going to finish it. And I put an edge on it. And I chopped with this in a professional lumberjack competition in the springboard chop back in the 2009. And I won the contest. So this, not the springboard, but the whole overall contest. So that's kind of cool. Like, that is a really neat story behind a really neat axe. So this was used way back in the day. Now I polished it all up and I put a little sticker on it there from the German guy that actually I get these machines from, Zoltan Gear. So this was his business, CSI. And I put a nice handle in it. It's got a beautiful ash handle in it, and it's a pretty cool rig. Now, even though that's kind of cool, the purists amongst our axe world would just roll their eyes and say, holy cow, what did you touch that for? Again, I'm a street rodder. I'm the son of a street rodder, so that's in my blood. So, a few weeks ago when I showed you how to put an edge on an axe, and I ground this little hole in both sides. I drilled it so that you could get a nice pivot point and make a really beautiful edge on this axe, which it has. The antiquers in the axe world almost had a canary because I would drill. So okay, I get it. I understand, and I do get people that are true blue axe people and don't want anything changed. I get that. I get that. However, in my world runs differently than that. But I can tell from this, Joe Glelly, that I think you are an axe collector. And I think you like things very original. Because you haven't beat out this mushroom back here. You've left that in there, and I see that. And I see you've done a little bit of smoothing along the edges, but not much else. So when I went at that last week and I ground that big mushroom off of there, I thought, maybe Joe is a purist. He ain't gonna be too impressed with that. So I had to get up my buffer a little bit, and you could see where that I touched that a little bit. So I've cleaned that up for him. Okay, now it looks just like it always did. Okay, it's a little bit shinier, but it's very original. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so this is the axe we're working on. Last week I put an edge on it, and I fitted the handle. So now we're going to finish this off. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to finish the edge. As soon as I figure out where all my, I know where they are. I need my stones. Okay. I'm just rummaging around down here, looking for my stones. Don't pay much attention to me, making all the racket. I took those to the world. Whoops. I took them to the worlds. I brought them back, and where did I put those stones? Oh, I know where they are. They're here. Right here. So, my new drawers over there have all the stuff in them I need. Rather than keeping them on the shelf, I can put them in a drawer, so that's kind of nice. So I'm going to do, Joe, I'm going to finish up your edge here a little bit for you, okay? Because I don't imagine you're going to swing this like a... So I'm just going to try to finish his edge, that last little millimeter I put on there. And I'm just going back and forth with this Norton stone, okay? So we want to just try to get a nice edge out there. There's just I could see a little bit of that divot left from when I ground it or when I filed it. So I'm just going to smooth that out, take that out of there. So it's got a nice pure straight edge out there. So let's see how that made out. Okay, we're getting close. We're getting close, but there's a little bit more left there. There's a little bit more of the, right along the very edge, just that little divot from where I filed it. So I'm just going to stone that out. I'm just going back and forth like this with that stone out on the edge. I'm headed to get a tractor. This is my dad has an old International B275 tractor. I guess it's a McCormick or whatever they call it. So we're headed down to get that. So I'm just waiting for my buddy to come out here and get me in a float truck, and we're going to go down and get that. So this is the video I'm doing just before we head out for that. There we go. Oh, it's not perfect, and it's driving me nuts. It's some close. It's not perfect, but we're getting there. We're almost there. I'm just flipping it back and forth, and I know I'm sorry at keeping it down there where you can't see it. What's that look like? Okay, I may have to just work on that just a smidgen before I'm done with it. So that's the axe head, just about perfect. Okay, so that's that part of it. Now, the next piece is our handle, and what I want to do for Joe, him being a purist, I'm wondering if I should even bother doing this. Okay, I'm doing a lot of thinking here. I think I'm going to skip the burning, okay? because I know Joe's a purist. Okay, or at least I get a pretty good idea he is. I'm not 100% sure. So why don't I, well, this is an action. I've got another handle going down the road, so why don't I show you burning on it, okay? So you just take a torch, turn it on, and all we're going to do, we're going to hit this wood like this. Okay, and what it does, it burns those, remember I tell you about the little pores, the little, not pores, they're, the grain is made up by rings, little porous rings. And what I'm doing right now is I'm burning those little pores, okay? They burn pretty easily. Okay, so, and see what it does is it causes it to pop. So the grain, wherever those rings are, really shows up nice. You don't want to leave it too long, or it'll burn all the wood. You just want to burn that where the rings are. But it gives a really cool look, does it not? Okay, so you see it all coming out here. Whoops, I left a little long looking at you guys. So look at that. See how cool that looks? Okay, so I like it actually. Of course, I'm a street rodder, not a antiquer. So I like the look of that. You can really see the grain. Okay, so we'll just finish up the top of it here, up where the axe is going to sit. Okay, red hot. We'll be touching that baby in a little while. So, this is what it looks like. Okay, so it really brings out the grain. And then the next thing you do, because it makes it a little bit rough, take some sandpaper and you're going to sand it. So Joe, this could have been what we did to your handle, but I think you're a purist. So just so I don't upset you, I know you're easygoing and it wouldn't matter to you probably anyhow, but I think what I'll do is we'll forgo it because you didn't ask for it, so there's no need in me doing it. I just wanted to demonstrate it, so here I am demonstrating it, and now what I'm doing is sanding it all smooth. So every place we burnt, I'm sanding it. There. Now, I do have a little bit of somewhere here. There it is. Everything's all moved around. So I have some linseed oil. So now what I'll do, the next thing you do, once you get it looking like this, now you throw a little bit of linseed oil on it. Look at this. Look at that blow right up. Isn't that pretty? So, all we're going to do, see the end here? Let's try that. There. See how that just jumps right out at you? It really causes the contrast to be much more evident. Okay. Look at that. So I think it's a really gorgeous look. For those of us that really love, and the other reason I like it, because at East Coast Lumberjack we make quality handles, okay? The grain is straight. And when you do this, it just accentuates how straight the grain is. Okay, so see, there's no growth ring down there at all popping through. Right along there, it's all just as straight as a die. So it really helps. It really helps show the quality of the grain in your handle. Okay, so that's for the that's one of those Walters that's going just down the road here on Keswick Ridge. But that's what I do for that. Okay, that's and I learned that from. Hats off. We'll give a shout out to Brad at Vintage Axe Revival. If you want to, now there's a street rodder. Brad is a true blue street rodder in the axe world, because he takes axes like this and he makes them beauties. He polishes them up and paints them and burns them. He's a street rodder. I'm kind of on the I can swing either way when it comes to teaks or street rodding. But he's full bore street rodder when it comes to the axe world. Vintage Axe Revival. If you've got an old axe and you want it done up and look awesome, you want to check him out on Facebook. Man, the stuff Brad does is unreal. I'm really impressed. He does gorgeous, gorgeous work. I see he just won a hatchet throwing championship here a few weeks ago, so I saw that on Facebook. But I digress. So back to our handle for Florida. So let's just finish sanding this one down, because I'm not going to burn it, just in case. So we'll sand it all, because I get a little bit of, when you work with that and you flip-flop back and forth between axes, metal, and wood, you get that flipping metal dinge on your handles. So I had to clean all that off. Okay. So what we will do, though, I'll get a cleaner rag. There's such a beast here. That's a little bit better. Okay. And then what we'll do, we'll BLO just a regular handle, so you can see that being done. Okay, and we're getting pretty close to being done for him. So here's a regular handle, and again, it'll bring it out a bit, but not nearly as pronounced as when you. Now there's a little bit of a bark left on from the, because we had to get right out to get that big flare. And of course, you only look for so many things in wood, but I look for a big, nice straight grain. And then I had to look for, and when I got that on there, I realized that I was, to get the grain, so once you make your pattern, you cut it out going one way, then you lay your straight edge on it this way, and you want to go right straight along the grain. And sometimes when you do that, you get over into the bark just a wee bit. But I would rather be a little bit into the bark and have my grain perfectly straight than to do the opposite. Okay, then to not get into the bark and then have a little bit of run out. Okay, here at East Coast Lumberjack, we're all about quality. We take a lot of pride in our work, and for the sake of a little wee bit of bark, I want my grain perfect. So that little itty bitty bark actually just gives a little bit of character to the handle, and that's he might beat it off over time, but. All I do then, if that comes off right there, I just take my my rasp and put the same mark on this side, so it's even on both sides. You'll never know the difference. Okay, so that's what it looks like now, BLO'd. Okay, so there you go, Joe. And I'm doing it now because I have no idea. I think you wanted the axe pretty much done, so I'm trying to do it all up for you. So there's that done. Now we're going to put it on. Okay, we're going to tap it down right to where it goes. Always tap the bottom, and it'll just keep pulling it up for you. You can hear it. It gets, that tap gets, the sound gets a little bit higher as you get closer and closer. Now, there we go. So we're seated perfect, okay? Now look at this in here. Okay, look at that. Just as tight as a drum the whole way around that axe head, okay? If you use my technique to put your axe head on a little bit at a time, it will come out that perfect. No big shoulder, no place for it to actually split. This one here is the two little wings down each side, so they're fitting just as snug as can be. That's a nice fit. Okay, that's what you're looking for. Okay, so here it is here. Now all we need is we need a wedge. Now, because there's a couple of things here I want to tell you. Oh, gee, I'm getting a little bit of... I'm getting my grease from my axes on my handle. I don't like that. Okay. Keep these hands, grubby hands of mine off that for a bit. So, because it is so snug, and actually it's so snug, you can't even see the seam here. A little bit right there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my screwdriver, like this, my flat screwdriver, okay, take my hammer, and I'm going to go where I know that is. I'm just going to tap it in there, and that's just going to pry it apart and give me a little bit of room to get that wedge in there. Okay, I'm going to go the whole way along it, widening out that kerf. Okay, so we're going to go 2/3 of the way along, and then see, because I had to pound it out so many times using that little carriage bolt, it actually bent the wood in there just a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is open up that kerf again, so my wedge will go in there, and then I'm going to put my wedge in and wedge it. So I'll show you here in a second. I'm almost there. Okay. So now I've taken my screwdriver, pounded it the whole way along. See how it's nice and wide there now to take it. But because it's so tight, I want a thin wedge. Okay, I want a pretty thin wedge. See, this baby here is pretty thin. And we're going to set it in there, and I want to make sure, because there's a little bit of a gap right up front here. See that? That little bit of a gap? My wedge will fill that. So I'm going to leave enough of my wedge towards the front that it actually fills that gap. So I'm going to put it here where I've widened it out and just start it. There. Okay. So my wedge is just started in here. Okay. Now we want to gently tap that along. And remember, we want the front of it to go down in there nice and tight, quite a ways, because we want to fill that gap. You can hear deep, 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 deep. That means it's getting tighter and tighter. Okay. And because it's a little bit wider at the front and the back, our wedge is actually tipped in a little bit front ways. But that's fine, a little bit towards the front. And see the ridges along the way I make my wedges, those ridges? That gives all kinds of friction to keep that from popping out. So it's broken here at the back. Now that we're down there nice and snug, now I'm going to take the bandsaw and snip that off nice and smooth. Okay. So there. Just a whisker proud the whole way along there. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll take my knife and I'll just trim that. Okay, I'm going to trim right along the edge of that where it's a little bit sharp from the bandsaw. Just to round that over a little bit. Gives it a nice finish. Okay, and I'll do that the whole way around it. So it just, and it rounds it off nicely so you don't catch it on anything either. Okay, so sometimes it's sometimes I've actually cut myself on those sometimes because they've been so sharp on that corner. So there. So see that? It's taken off nice and smooth all the way around there. Now, I'm doing a lot more than I normally do because Joe's asked me to. But typically, I will expect the axeman to do a lot of this stuff on his own. Okay? I'm not, I'm into handles and making handles for fellows that need new axe handles in their gear. But I always expect you, that's why I'm doing these YouTube videos, so you can do it yourself, okay? So this is just finishing off that front end of that wedge. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so that's a finished project. Okay, Kelly True Temper, and this is on a 28-inch. It is a vintage Moore, so it's a nice smooth handle. It's hung just as straight and as true as a die. So that's it, start to finish. So this baby now, I will box it up again in the box it came in, and of course I'll make my box for the handle a little bit longer, and we'll ship this down to Joe in Florida. So Joe, it'll be on its way before long. In the meantime, you've been able to watch the old East Coast Lumberjack do up your axe. So now I've got a couple of other projects. One, I just did this one. Next week, the next video, we're going to talk about this one. Okay, now this was the store-bought handle. Okay, that's the palm swell. It's flat as a pancake. This is what guys do that want to make money. Okay, this does not impress the old East Coast Lumberjack. The grain is going slashways. It's a flat handle, so what they're doing, they're milling their wood, getting as many handles of the wood as they can. And again, it's hickory, so it could likely last because hickory's pretty tough. But in my world, where I like things perfect, the grain perfect and straight, this is cheesy. Let's call spade a spade. So this is coming out. Now, in all honesty, it's on an old Canadian tire. Okay, so this is just a split and action Canadian tire. I did clean it up a little bit on the German machine. So I'm going to buff it. I am going to buff it up a little bit once I take my... So the other thing I'm going to do now, like I showed you here, this is my drill, and it's got closed loop sticky pads. And I'm going to use a few of those. We'll do this next week, okay? Next week is that axe. I'll clean it up, the face of it, show you how I do it. I'll polish it up on the machine, and then I'll put a handle in it. Okay, a real handle with a palm swell, so it doesn't go flying out of your hand when you're wearing a mitten. Okay, this is for Rod McDonald. He lives right in Fredericton. Good buddy of mine, and not sure if many of the guys watches on YouTube or not. But anyways, I'm going to do it up for Rod. I've done a few axes for a few of the other guys in the group. Okay, and we meet every Wednesday, and it's a good bunch of boys. We pray every Wednesday, and so anyways, I'm doing this one up for Rod. I did another one for Bob McLeod. He had an old, it was a hewn axe. It came out gorgeous. So now Rod wants his done, so I told him take a picture of it. So he did, and now this is so next week's is going to be on his. Okay, we're going to do that axe, start to finish, and show you. And I should be able to get that done in 30 minutes because I got most of the groundwork done on it now. And then I've got a couple other ones here. I got those 2 other Walters we want to do up and put these 2 handles in them. And now one of those is that burnt one. So I'll show you putting that in. I've got a bunch of projects. So we got all kinds of fodder for the next little bit. So that's it. So the next thing now, the other thing I got to tell you about, okay? I plan, every time I go to these steel competitions, I plan on doing a lot of filming. Now, I did do a couple of shorts that did make the YouTube channel. But when I get there, and again, we were competing, and I know all the guys, and I'm doing this and doing that, it just seems weird for me because I do know all these people to be going around going into my phone, okay? That, and number 2, I forget. So when I went to, here I was in Milan, Italy at the World Trophy, and I forgot to do any filming at all. I did do a couple of little ones because I was taking pictures and film on my camera, but I forgot all about the YouTube channel because, of course, I'm in a different flipping setting altogether. So we're going down next week, and I'll be announcing on the microphone. So I likely will again forget because then I got my announcing hat on. I won't remember to take it. But anyways, I'm going to try to get some footage for the channel so you can see these events going. Okay, so that's the goal, and hopefully I'll be able to get it done. But again, I'm announcing, so I might not be able to. If I go to a show where I'm not announcing or competing or coaching, I might remember enough to do something. So again, my bad. That's all on me. But anyways, there's going to be lots of shows this summer, so hopefully we get you some decent footage on it. Anyways, that's it for this week. So thanks a lot for joining us here at the East Coast Lumberjack Shop in Keswick Ridge, New Brunswick. Join us again next week. There'll be all kinds more. Take care.